What if the thing keeping you from seeing clearly is not a mystery or a lack of faith, but a habit, an ingredient, a device, a product so ordinary you barely notice it? What if that small, everyday influence is dulling the place inside you that knows? Breathe. Feel the air move in and out. Notice right now the subtle place where something says, "Not quite right." Hold on to that sense. If this speaks to you, if it wakes a small recognition, before we go further, type the word recognition in the comments, only if you feel anything at all. There are teachings that were hidden for a long time, fragments and books recovered from deserts and jars, grouped under the name Nag Hammadi. Among those texts is the Gospel of Philip, a book that some call Gnostic, meaning it comes from a tradition focused on direct, inner knowledge. According to these sources, certain people carry a kind of signature on their bodies. Marks, not visible like ink, but felt and verified by touch. These texts suggest that spiritual identity can be checked somatically. You don't need an official to tell you who you are. That idea sounds strange if you grew up with only institutional religion or purely modern science. But hear this as a claim worth testing on your body, not an academic certainty. Many seekers across time have treated their body as a witness to inner truth. The ancient teachers spoke of 3 marks, 3 places that, when touched or sensed, confirm a person's connection to the original source. I will translate those old descriptions into a practical modern practice. I will describe them as origin, perception, and command. Think of origin as your root, where your spiritual life begins. Perception is the faculty that receives subtle sight, what some call the third eye, or in contemporary spiritual speech, the pineal or third eye center. Command is the center of your authority, the place where intention gathers and issues forth. These are not medical terms here. They are points of experience you can check in your body. The first mark, the base of the skull. Imagine the place where your skull meets your neck. In the older accounts, this was the mark of origin, a kind of anchor. In modern language, it's the place that carries the sense of being grounded in something beyond your immediate thought stream. The second mark, along the lateral line of the hand, the edge your palm where you might sense a current when you draw your hand toward light. This line is described as a confirmation of perception, an outward tactile verification that your inner sight is present. The third mark, at the center of the chest, just above the heart, the place of command, where your intention can become authority. These 3 correlate with the inner architecture the ancients described. Today, many spiritual practitioners relate them to the third eye faculty as the place of subtle perception. Now you may ask, is my third eye blocked? Can a product do that? Listen, I will not claim scientific proof. I will not tell you a named item has been proven to block any gland. Instead, I will offer what many communities have long believed and what many people have reported experientially, that certain contemporary influences, categories of products, environmental patterns, and daily technologies can dull subtle perception. Think of them as cultural or material veils, widespread additives, pervasive exposure to certain chemical categories, constant low-level electromagnetic noise from devices, highly processed diets that change how you feel. All of these are cited by various seekers as factors that can reduce sensitivity. Some call it calcification in metaphor. Others say it is simply habituation. The senses get used to coarse impressions and stop noticing the subtle. Whatever the mechanism, treat this as an interpretive frame and a reason to check the body yourself. Let us move into the practice. I will guide you slowly. You do this seated or standing in a place where you can be quiet for a few minutes. Keep it gentle. The point is not to prove anything to anyone. The point is to let your body speak. First, find your breath. Notice its rhythm. Breathe in as if you are inviting a gentle light. Breathe out as if you are letting a curtain fall. Do not force anything. Just bring attention to the center of your being. Now, place your fingertips lightly at the base of your skull, where the head meets the neck. Press with tenderness. No force. Notice what you feel. Warmth? A faint pressure? A sense of release? Some people feel nothing at first. Others feel a subtle buzzing, a memory, a small pulse. If you feel nothing, that is information too. Stay there for a moment and breathe into the place. Allow images or memories to come. Allow nothing to come. The ancient texts encourage verification by touch, not as magic, but as a somatic truth test. Next, with the same gentle attention, bring your hand across to the side of your palm, along the lateral line where the edge of your hand meets the little finger. You can use the index finger of the other hand to trace that line. Slowly, trace and press. Do you notice a responsive tone? A tilting of awareness toward your fingers? Many people describe a subtle conductivity, like the skin recognizes something. Again, stay present. Do this without trying to make anything happen. Observe sensations. Warmth, tingling, a sense of attention shifting toward the hand. Then, move your hand to the center of your chest, just above the sternum, where the old teachers said the center of command sits. Press lightly, breathe into it, and listen. This place may feel warm, heavy, buoyant, or neutral. Some people report a quieting, as if a knot loosens. Others feel clarity blooming, a sense of yes in the body. Whatever arises, let it. This is the body's witness. At each point, after you touch, pause, and notice the quality of your thoughts. You may experience an immediate mental objection. This is silly. I sense nothing. Or, why would a product block something spiritual? Those thoughts are normal. In the framework of the old tradition, such thoughts are expected. They are described as interference, the voices of doubt, or the defensive architecture that scrambles perception. Some texts use the term archontes, which can be understood simply as controlling forces or psychological defenses, and the demiurge, a symbolic name for the world-building principle that distracts and confines. You do not have to take these words literally. Think of them as metaphors for the internal resistance that shows up precisely when a perception begins to clarify. One important thing to watch for. Immediate laughter or dismissal is often the mind trying to maintain its prior story. Do not chase the thought. Instead, re-anchor in the breath and return to the place you were checking. The presence of doubt is not proof that nothing is happening. In fact, the arrival of doubt can itself indicate a shift. Notice how the skeptical voice rises and use it as data. There is resistance. Breathe it in and let it pass. Some seekers reading this will want to identify a culprit, a single product or a branded item. The safer, wiser approach is to think in categories. Many communities suspect that frequent consumption of certain additives, a diet high in processed meals, heavy exposure to low-level electromagnetic fields from devices, and habitual use of substances that dull sensation can contribute to a general lowering of subtle perception. Another widespread contemporary factor is constant audio-visual stimulation. Screens that flood attention with fast impressions train the nervous system to favor coarse, rapid signals and ignore slower, subtle cues. These are cultural patterns and material conditions, not moral failings. They shape sensation. If you suspect an influence from a category of products or habits, consider experimenting. Reduce, pause, and notice. Do not do this as medical advice. Do it as a controlled, mindful inquiry into your own experience. Let me offer an interpretive frame for why this feels urgent. The Gnostic sources speak of the monad, a term for the original undivided source. They also speak of seals and signatures that mark those who remember their origin. Interpreted psychologically, the monad can be understood as your deepest sense of being. The seals are bodily confirmations that you remain connected. When modern influences dull perception, these seals can become harder to notice. The point of this practice is reclamation, not to endorse a conspiracy without nuance, but to reawaken an embodied knowing that does not require external validation. If you are comfortable, You may add a short verbal declaration. This is optional. Speak only if it feels right. Say to yourself, or aloud if you wish, I recognize my origin. I activate my perception. I declare my command. These words are compact. They do not promise visions or miracles. They are a personal affirmation that you are reclaiming the right to notice your own inner life. For many people, speaking such a declaration shifts attention in a way that feeling alone cannot. If you do speak it, do so gently, without theatricality. Let the phrase settle into the body. After you perform these checks and perhaps the declaration, notice again the pattern of thoughts. Many will think, this was nothing, or I felt only placebo. Others will sense a subtle opening and may feel surprised. Both responses are valid. The ancient guidance was always practical. Test, observe, repeat. Your body is the laboratory. Keep a simple, compassionate curiosity. There will be those among you who say, I tried and felt nothing but discomfort. If you feel discomfort, stop and resettle your breath. Discomfort is not the same as the subtle resonance we are describing. It can be the nervous system waking up. If it persists, treat it with kindness and step back. This practice is not about endurance. It is about listening. For clarity, here are small variations you can explore over days. Perform the 3 checks at different times: morning, evening, after a day of heavy screen use. Keep a private note of what changes. Try a day where you minimize certain categories of products you suspect. For instance, reduce processed food, reduce screen time, or limit a specific habit, and observe whether your sensitivity shifts. Again, do not treat this as a medical experiment. Treat it as a personal inquiry. Many people report that when they reduce constant stimulation and increase time in stillness, subtle perception becomes easier to notice. In the Gnostic stories, being pneumatic is a term for someone who is spiritually awake. The word simply means of the breath, or animated by spirit. If that language feels too esoteric, substitute your own. Curious seeker, person learning to listen, anyone who wants to reclaim inner authority. The point is not to adopt labels, but to participate in a discernment practice. The ancient teachers were not interested in building gatekeeping institutions. They wanted individuals to verify truth for themselves. Let me speak plainly about the idea of blocking. The word block can sound violent and absolute. Think of it instead as a tuning problem. Your instrument, your body and attention, can be detuned by the cumulative effect of environment, habit, and cultural noise. A product can be one factor in a larger field. It may act like a cloth over a lamp, not extinguishing the light, but dimming it. Many spiritual communities believe that reclaiming perception is less about finding a single enemy and more about recalibrating your whole life. What you ingest, how you sleep, the rhythm of your attention, and the rituals that restore presence. We should acknowledge resistance beyond the personal level. Institutional powers, historical authorities that enforced particular worldviews, had reasons to prefer a populace that did not verify spiritual identity for themselves. That is not an accusation against contemporary people, but an observation about how authority can consolidate. The Gnostic critique was that intermediaries often replace direct experience. Whether you take these metaphors literally or not, the useful takeaway is simple. Personal verification short-circuits dependency on outside endorsement. If you felt something during the checks and you typed recognition earlier, know that you are joining a lineage of seekers who used their own hands and breath to remember. If you did not type the word earlier because nothing obvious happened, you have still done important work. Sensitivity is not an all-or-nothing capacity. It is gradually cultivated. Be patient with yourself. Keep the practice simple. Breathe, touch, notice. Repetition invites revelation. A word about doubt. You will hear a running commentary. That voice may mock, rationalize, or explain away. Name it. Say silently, I hear the doubt. Then let your attention return to the body. Doubt is part of the architecture you are learning to navigate. Think of it as a test rather than a veto. When doubt becomes a habit that always extinguishes practice, cultivate a small discipline of return. Breathe softly. Come back to the base of the skull, the hand, the chest. Over time, the habit of return becomes a form of authority. Before I close, let me offer a few practical supports that many people find helpful when reclaiming perception. Sleep matters. Deep restorative sleep recalibrates the nervous system. Quiet time without screens, even short spans, allows subtle sensations to become audible. Gentle movement, like walking outdoors with attention on the feet and breath, grounds perception in the body. Reducing mindless consumption of highly stimulating media helps. Each of these is a lifestyle adjustment, not a miracle cure. They are invitations to slow down so the subtle can reassert itself. If you are comfortable with the language of ritual, consider creating a small personal practice around these checks. Keep it short but consistent. Light a candle if that helps you enter a contemplative mood. Use the same gentle declaration when it feels right. I recognize my origin. I activate my perception. I declare my command. Let the words be a compact contract with yourself. Nothing grander. You may wonder what comes next. This video is not intended to be the last word. It is the beginning of an inquiry. If this resonated, subscribe to stay with the next practices where we'll move from simple verification to careful, grounded activations, exercises that train attention without promising spectacular outcomes. The path is cumulative and communal. You do not need to rush. As we end, return once more to your breath. Let the rhythm slow. Place your hand again, briefly, at the base of the skull, then along the lateral palm line, then at the center of the chest. Breathe into each place. Give thanks, in whatever words feel true, for the body's signal, whether loud or faint. Recognize that reclaiming perception is an act of gentle insistence, not aggression. May you find, in the quiet repetition of these small verifications, a steady increase of clarity. May the old whispers become clearer and the veils softer. This is not about proving anything to others. It is about restoring your right to know yourself. If you felt anything at all, you already did the most important thing. You checked. If that stirred you, type recognition in the comments so others may know they are not alone. Go slowly. Be kind to yourself. Subscribe if you would like to continue this journey together. I will be here with more practices, more historical translations, and more invitations to trust the body's testimony. May your perception open in its own time.